Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, September 10th, 2020, and you're watching WGAN TV live at 5. We have a great show for you today. We're doing Ask the Room, a deep dive into the desktop editor. We have the founder, the co-founder and CEO, Eric C. Eric, good to see you again.
Hey, Dan.
And Eric, thank you for being on the show again. Super excited to get a deep dive into Ask the Room desktop editor, take a look at all the features possible. Then maybe we could also talk a little bit about 2D schematic floor plans. And I know later in the show, I want to talk about WGAN $1,500 Ask the Room $1,500, the WGAN $1,500 Ask the Room 15-minute virtual tour challenge. Fred, are you joining us on the show today?
I'm here, Dan.
Do you want to be on the show or no?
Well, I don't know that I'm prepared to be, but I think I'll.
Okay, so we're actually live, so I'm going to move you off, and I can't move you off. So maybe if you could just drop off the show, and then you could watch us on WGAN Forum in the bottom right corner of the forum, WGAN Forum.
I used the wrong link.
Yeah, we're on the show live. We'll see you later, Fred. Thanks.
All right, Dan.
Okay, great. So, so forgive me, Eric. Later in the show, I want to talk about the WGAN $1,500 Ask the Room 15-minute virtual tour challenge. But before we get to do that deep dive on the desktop editor, and I think where I'd like to start, if you wouldn't mind, is start with, let's see the finished Ask the Room virtual tour, and then we'll talk about how you've created that.
Sure, pleasure. So you have to allow me to share my screen.
Yes, okay. Let's see. Got a little bit something different working on Zoom today. Okay.
All right. So now sharing my screen. We are going to the gallery first. These are the tours that we created, and we think they look good, and then we want to leave them on the site for visitor to watch and experience. So now we're looking at the tour that is shot on the Ricoh Zeta Z1. Where would you like me to begin, Dan? Just by walking around in there?
Yeah, so we're looking at a 3D dollhouse, and then I see some icons in the bottom left corner, and I see some icons in the top right, and then maybe we can work and walk through the tour.
Right. So, sorry, this one may not be the best one. Let me pull out the other one that has dimensions on. So okay. This one, yeah. So let me explain a little bit why some of them don't have dimension, why some of them have dimensions. If we have the height of the tripod, then we can triangulate the dimensions. So that one didn't have dimension because we couldn't get, the person that was shooting it didn't provide us the height of their tripod. And by the way, all these tours were shot by our users. So none of it is shot by us. So we just asked our user if we can use their tours. It's simple. So let me go into, so this is a 3D dollhouse. As you can see, all the rooms, when it's adjacent to another room, the doors are carved out, so that will help us to see the flow of the home. So let me just dive right in. And this one has the height of tripod, and then so we can triangulate the dimensions of the home. And keep in mind that these dimensions are just for approximate. They are believed to be within 10% plus minus range. So so that is the tour at a glance.
Okay, great. So I think when you show us the back end, we'll see about the dollhouse that's in the thumbnail to the left. I don't see the floor plan in this particular model, but we'll talk about that.
Yep.
I see that there's a measurement icon on the right side that may or may not be there, depending on whether the photographer wants that to be visual. There's also in the, let's see, we have the thumbnails at the bottom, and we can see that there are names on the thumbnail. So we'll talk about how the thumbnails get named. We'll also talk about how you can select those thumbnails so that you can be in control of that. And then I don't see where the photographer's information is on this particular one, but it's possible to display some content such as who the photographer is or the real estate agent. If we go to the top right, Eric, in this one, in the three vertical dots, yep, we'll take a look at that. So there's some extra features that look like they haven't been enabled here. Okay, so I think when we go into a deep dive, we'll see that there's some other features that actually have not been enabled on this particular tour. Can you take us into the back end of the Astrum desktop editor, and we'll visit on that? And then maybe while you're getting set up, I'll say there's two ways that you can bring your tours into the Astrum platform. One is using the Astrum app, either on iOS or Android, and then the panos automatically appear in the tour. Or you can use the Astrum desktop editor where Eric is now and actually add the panoramas to start a new tour.
So yep, so we're in.
So I noticed that you actually jumped in. You went a little bit fast for him. If you just back out of this tour, is that we can see up in the top right corner is that plus button, and in the top right button, yeah, and that we could actually start a new tour. Why don't we start with that, even though I know you don't have any panoramas. Let's click on that, and you can see, yeah.
So you give it the name of the tour. Usually we encourage them to put the listing address on it, but you can name it to be anything. And the description, this is where you can put the listing information here. And of course, you can put in the actual location, try to map it. And this will be particularly helpful when we're doing our integration with our partners.
So how do I put the address in there? How do I put a map? Okay. So we didn't see it on the screen. Were you typing an address?
Nope. They just automatically type where I am, which is the location I'm in. My home in San Francisco. And if I wanted to be elsewhere, say like San Jose, I can type it here as a Google map.
Great. Okay. And so that's where you can actually, when we were in the front end looking at the three dots in the top right hand corner, if I wanted to know some more information about the panorama, I could see the actual location of that house if that's what we wanted to include.
That's right.
Okay.
So go back, and there's a toggle for if I want my profile to be displayed. So this is basically the branding versus non-branding option for MLS. So if you toggle just my branding on, it will show your profile as a photographer. Now, a lot of people ask me, a lot of photographers ask me that, can I change the profile to my agent? The answer is yes, but not in this account. So as a photographer, you most likely will have the enterprise plan, which is the 25 active tour and 10 users at the same time. Or you have Dan's We Get Around plan, which is a $60 flat rate, including dollhouse, retouch, and very soon, starting today, including 2D floor plans as well.
Great. So that's what we call the WGAN Astrum pay-per-tour bundle.
Astrum pay-per-tour bundle.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like you get everything all in one bundle, which makes sense. So that's great.
Yep.
I see another button there for tour music.
Oh yeah, let me finish. So if you're on those plans, if you're on the enterprise plan, which you can have 10 users, or if you're on We Get Around bundle plan, you actually can create sub accounts within your account. And I will not show how you create sub account today because it's like a process that you actually have to type in the email address, and you can use the same password, and you can just log in, once you shoot the tour on your main account, you can transfer into the sub account. So that is how you can manage the tour for individual agents. So each agent is your sub-user, and whenever you shoot a tour, just transfer that tour into that sub account.
Okay. All right, great. So let's take us into a tour.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now
Oh,
I jumped too quickly because the music was a feature. So if we could maybe go back to tour music.
You can upload an MP3. A lot of people ask us if we can have stock music. We don't want to do that just yet. We feel like people should have their own taste of music, or no music, just fine.
Okay, so if I want to have music for the tour, it needs to be my file, my MP3 file that I'm uploading.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay.
And then if you could take us into
One of the tours,
one of the tours, be great.
the one we just saw, the Rancho Santa Fe tour. So once you click into Rancho Santa Fe, this was a tour that we saw on the gallery page, right? So once you come in, you will see individual panoramas on your left hand side that you shot or upload. By the way, you want to upload panorama, you can click on this button. A lot of you probably use either the Matterport camera or Z1 camera, not directly using our
The Ricoh Theta Z1 camera. So essentially any 360 camera, as long as you have a typical panorama, you can upload it to the Asteroom via the Asteroom desktop editor. And that was you were pointing out the icon there to upload panoramas
Yep.
within an existing tour.
Yep. And then if you have the Ricoh Theta Z1 or the Insta360 1R, 1X, you can actually directly use the Asteroom app to shoot and create a project. So you technically don't need, if you don't want to do, unless you want to do any editing, if you just want to do the dollhouse and allow us to retouch your panorama for you, you don't really have to come into web editor. You can shoot using the app, create a project, upload, and order Asteroom imaging services.
Which is terrific. So if you want to do practically nothing, you can do practically nothing by using the Asteroom iOS or Android app paired with a Ricoh Theta Z1 or Ricoh Theta V and Insta360 1X, and then just simply shoot and upload. But what we're doing today is to say, okay, you're a photographer, you want to have a little bit more control over the tour. This is where you can do it in a somewhat easy fashion. I've done about a dozen tours myself using the desktop editor, and I find it's a relatively easy learning curve. It just works. It's how you would expect things to work. But that said, I think it would be totally helpful if you could just walk us through the different features, Eric. Okay.
Yeah, so once you upload let's say if you use the Asteroom mobile app to shoot, and then you upload all the panoramas and you create a project, this is the view that you will get. And this is where you can place hotspots, or do some, if you want to blur some sensitive info, or you want to insert like a video or image or tag, this is where the interface to do it.
So let me see if I can give you maybe some direction. So I'm seeing some panoramas. The first thing I want to do is change the name of a panorama. What do I do? How do I change the name?
Right here.
Okay, so it says front door. I simply type in the new name. Boom, got it.
Yeah.
I want to change the order of the panoramas.
This one, the 3 little dots. The
Okay.
3 vertical dots are always symbol for more. So you can just change
Okay, so I
order.
want to change order.
Yep.
Okay, and now you're just simply moving some up, moving some down, and
Right.
and that's going to determine the order of the thumbnails at the bottom.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, that we saw earlier. And then if I wanted to change, I'm not really happy with that particular view.
The thumbnail. Yep. So then you can do it like here, and you can pick a direction that you like. and a view you like, and then you just do this button, which when you hover it, it says up the thumbnail. So once you click it, yes.
Okay, and so I'm a photographer. I care a little bit more about what's to the left. So maybe there's the left arrow. Maybe you could show that if you could, if there's an arrow, if you could just collapse the windows on the side. So Eric, it's to the right of living, to the right of living room.
Okay.
To the right of, yep. So that's what I want to see, because I really care about, I want to see that whole shot. Now maybe you could go change that thumbnail. So
So maybe since this this panorama is named as front door, so we can just show the front door or something. And there.
Okay, so now that was how easy it was to change the thumbnail. I think probably worth pointing out while you're there, right below that is if I wanted to have a snapshot of that particular shot. So how did you resize? How did you make it bigger or smaller?
Oh, is
Zoom in.
the mouse.
Okay, so you zoomed in and out on the mouse, and then right below that icon on the right was a way for you to take a snapshot.
That's right. Yep. So
So
this you
we
can.
boom, you just took a snapshot. You can set the size.
Yep.
Okay, great. And then hit download, boom, you have, okay. And then it's going to download a file. Great. Now that's a little bit tedious if I have a lot of shots. So I see an icon on the bottom left. I can download all the thumbnails. In this particular one, there's 69. So you could just click that button on the bottom left to literally download them all. I think one of the things that I like in that zip file is that the images, Eric, to your credit, to your team's credit, are all named exactly how I named the thumbnail. So it's entrance.jpg, front door.jpg, living room.jpg. So that was really nice that was done. So I see a button to the, so if I go up to the panorama button on the left, there's a button that says 2D floor plan.
Yep.
So, but that's blank.
Yep. Means that there was no floor plan created. So this tour was shot before we have our floor plan service. So while you do it is just go in here, and you're gonna show you that these are the service that you can get, and it's showing all 0 because I'm on the admin account, so I can order it.
So we'll assume that. So I'd like to get one of those accounts too. Thank you. So this is where on the back end that you can order different solutions such as image enhancement to really make your images shine, and floor plans. And I think probably the key thing here is that because this is different for a Matterport service provider. We never see this particular field where you're asking for the height of the lens to the ground. And I think that, I think it's just important to say, you really want to write that down. What I do is I actually take a picture of a tape measure next to the camera lens, because I know I can go back to that day and find that height. And knowing that the camera was at 54 inches enables you all to create the floor plans and the measurements that we saw earlier in that front end tour.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was cool. So we'll close out of services. And I think the other thing probably worth noting there on the floor plans was that you could upload your own floor plan too. If you already had a floor plan from a different source, you could upload that.
Yep.
Now, are you, because we didn't see it in the front end of your other tour, what's magical about your floor plans is they actually can be interactive.
Yep. So then you pull one up from a different account.
If you'd call, because I think that's a really cool feature of Ask the Room, is that you actually can have an interactive floor plan where when you click on, and in fact, this is in the content management system. I think Eric was looking for a tour that had a little icon of a map to indicate that he had a map. There's an example of a interactive map, and maybe you could show us how panoramas selectively get added. Yep. So you went to the property map.
Map. Yep. And then kitchen. And then I would just place it. Where's kitchen? Oh, there's already a kitchen. So let me.
Big house. Yeah.
Yep. So let me try this other thing. Master bedroom. let's see, master bedroom right here. And I can place it right here. And that's it.
Okay, it said, so what else can you do there? You can move the location.
Yep.
And there was something that said edit location. What does that give you?
I believe this is where when the person comes in, where they see is the direction.
Mhm.
So
Great. So the photographer has control over what you see when you actually go to that
you click on it.
that icon on the map.
Yep.
So we're really talking about the consumer, the user of the tour being able to have options of how they walk through a tour. So one was to select the thumbnails at the bottom, 2 was to actually walk through, then 3 was to be able to call up the map and select one of these location pins and then fly into that location.
Right.
Okay, great. So tour settings, that's a button up on the top right there. So I think we probably have to close out of the map maybe even before we can.
Oh, I think that we can just go. Yep. So
Yeah, so it's now you have to decide whether you're going to, okay. So now we're in tour settings. What can we do here?
it's basically the same thing as when we were creating a tour. So you're just calling up that menu. You can change the name. You can edit description. You can give it a location. You can decide if you want to show my name or agent's name, depending on whose account you're in. And you can upload music and change cover.
Okay, and so I have a couple questions on this page. So I would say if you want to be like spend the least amount of time in the house shooting, then you may not take the time to fill out anything more than the tour name. So you say, okay, when I get back, to my office, then I'll fill in the description, the location, and anything else I want. Where does the tour cover show up?
This is basically the thumbnail. So when you post the tour on Facebook or anywhere like in a Google Doc or emails, right? This is where it shows the thumbnail.
Okay, and so social media, great. Does this also determine when you look at an Ask the Room tour, when you're using a link, let's say someone is using an MLS link and they click on that Ask the Room link, am I seeing the dollhouse, some 3D dollhouse? Am I seeing this still image? That's determined someplace else. And so this is one of those options. So if I really do want to set my tour cover, particularly for social media, but this also shows up in other places as well.
You can delete it, you can re-upload it. Yeah. So,
okay, so let's close out of there. Then we have the tour assistant in the top right.
Yep. And so this tour assistant, it really just, oops, I think I have to go out of floor plan mode. So panorama, tour assistant. And then, not sure why it's not loading. This is basically a self-guided tour. Oh, so you can, it will be blank because we never set it up. So you can just start selecting the panorama you want it to be autoplay. And then if user don't do anything, and if they don't cancel out of tour assistant, then you're just gonna keep playing like autoplay of different panorama in the sequence that you chose.
Okay, so this is great. Let me spend a little bit more time on that because I think as a photographer, you have so much control over how to display an Ask the Room tour. One of those features is you can set the tour on autoplay. So when a potential guest visits your virtual space, they may not have to do anything and just the tour starts playing on its own. So that's where we are right now. And that's where you setting this up. So, so you happen to select all the images, not some.
I select 4. I select some images, not all.
Not
and
all. Okay.
Yep, you can select, and you can select the images that you want to.
And how do you change the order?
Again, is this little three dots, change order.
Okay. Just slide them around. Okay, great. Now, this is also what we as a Matterport service provider would think is a highlight reel, which is the thumbnail at the bottom, the film strip at the bottom. That's yes.
You didn't, I thought you were talking about, I don't know what highlight reel is.
Okay, so this is the thumbnails that appear at the bottom of the tour.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
That's right. Okay, so if you happen to be a Matterport service provider and you're thinking about highlight reel, that's what we're looking at now. Asteroom might call that a film strip, but essentially it's the same thing. Those thumbnails you can click on and immediately go someplace in the tour, or if it's set up as an autoplay experience, then you're using the film strip to autoplay a tour.
So we can try to play, and then this is gonna it will rotate, and at the speed that you're you're asking the software to rotate in. So the speed is, I believe, 60 seconds. And I don't think you can click into any arrows. So you're just gonna keep going autoplay, and then your user can leave, and when they leave, it goes to the tour.
Yeah, we happen to be in the back end, so it's not exactly what the front end looks like. But I think I think our viewers understand that if you felt that rotation was too slow, you can make it faster. Personally, I think if you put it on rotation period 15 seconds, it would fly by so quickly. It's probably a bit overwhelming. So it sounds like it's partly as a function of how many images you're using and what the time is. Otherwise, maybe a little trial and error to get it at the speed that you like.
Yep.
Okay, so let's come out of that for a second. So we were back. So are these, so if I wanted to, again, earlier we were changing what the thumbnail image was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's done at that other step. Those three, the sandwich dots, I can change the order. I can't change the image there. If I want to change the image, then I need to go back earlier where we were to do that.
Right here.
And then I see you have an opening speech. So this could be music, or this could be perhaps a real estate. It could be a real estate agent just telling you about the house.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So what would be a kind of a best practice here? Would you create this experience, then ask the agent to talk about it and then come back and then upload the file? Or is the agent giving you something prepared on an MP3 file and then you're kind of matching the images with, I guess it could work either way.
Either way, it depends on if the agent wants to highlight anything at the in the tour. So you can just ask it to provide an MP3. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. So let's come out of that feature.
Okay. And then you can use Play All to experience like the entire reel of autoplays. So,
okay.
Leave this.
So again, we're in the back end. That lets you kind of preview it. Okay.
Okay.
So we've kind of covered everything on the left side, which is here are all the thumbnails. Here's how you rename the thumbnails. Here how you reorder the thumbnails. I still see a couple other things, like if we go over to entrance, that looks like a tripod and a little measuring tape. Could you talk about those two features?
This means that you have a covered tripod feature on. So that's basically one of the added object. It's called tripod overlay. It just, like some agents, some users, they don't want people to see their tripod, so they can insert tripod overlay logo of yours or the real estate agent. And when you do apply to all rooms, every single little panorama will have the icon, means that that would mean that that panorama has a tripod overlay.
Mhm. What I like about this is it was super easy, you know, for me, I wanted to put our logo patch into the examples that I was doing. If you could go back into the add object, if you
Yep.
could go back to add object, go back to the tripod overlay, and if you click on that, then you go to edit. I thought one of the nice features here was I could resize it. Maybe I'm in the wrong spot, but I recall that I was able to resize my logo patch.
Here. So you can say adjust,
Adjust. There we go.
zoom forward, then too small, you can see the tripod. So backward.
So I thought that was really nice that I could resize. And then what is forward and backward doing here? What are those two features here?
Pushing this icon forward. And with proportional scaling, it's the same thing basically, except they're kind of like zooming in and out in different.
Okay, same feature, different way to accomplish that. Okay, so so that was a very nice, that not only could I add what I happen to call the nadir or the tripod patch, but I could globally change it, globally set it. And then I think what you were about to show was on the tripod underneath individual thumbnails. If you wanted to have a different patch for that particular thumbnail, you could.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. Okay, great. Then maybe if we could go up to the top right on and start with measurements and work our way over.
Okay.
Measurements, yeah.
Yep. So you can see if you change the height of your tripod, the entire the room, the dimension for entire room will change. So you can see now it's calculates 15.1. Obviously, that's very tall. So I think we're set to say 46, and
Okay.
611, yeah, sounds about right.
So yeah, so I can't overstress this enough. If you're going to give Ask the Room a try, remember, take a picture of a tape measure with the height of the lens in the camera that you're using, because you kind of unlock these additional features of both putting measurements on floor plans and the measurements within the room if you want that displayed. And you have the option to enable, disable that. Where would I enable, disable measurement in this? Is back up to that measurement tool, and then
yeah, you can say display measurement to viewer.
Okay.
Goes away.
and if that measurement, presumably my tripod height, was the same in all rooms,
Oh yeah, so you can just say apply to
apply all rooms, display measurements to viewer. So now when the viewer is looking at the tour, they'll see the measurements as a default, but if they want to disable the measurements while they're viewing, I recall they can do that as well.
That's right. Yep, you can do off. Yep. So this will be the preview mode. You can turn it off.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. Did I?
Okay. So we're going to exit. We're going to exit out of that feature.
No, sorry, I didn't get it right. So the turn off measurement is here, right here. Turn off.
Yeah. So you.
What I thought was auto rotation. Yep.
Yeah. So you've clicked on. So is the consumer looking at the tour? If the measurements are displayed, but you want to disable that, you could go to the little ruler in the right there, click on the ruler, and that toggles the measurements on and off. Okay, so let's go back to the Ask the Room desktop editor.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's one thing that I saw, and I know we probably didn't. I don't know if we were planning on talking about it, but I think it might be worthwhile to mention that we give out this teaser video, which agents like a lot. It's an MP4 format, and it's basically like a dollhouse view, and then it goes into the tour, jump around. I think Matterport has this too. So this is just a nice thing to give it to the agent. They can post on their Facebook page and put some ad money and just promote their own brand to their local
Yes.
sales.
And in fact, there's a download button, which is great. And I think coincidentally, Eric, I don't know if you saw the post, but in today's We Get Around Network forum, WGANforum.com, I actually posted did a post of digital assets that you can download from an Ask the Room tour. So in that post, I put one of the tours that I created with Ask the Room, and then here's the video. I downloaded the video, put it on Vimeo, and then put it into the forum. I downloaded the snapshots, all the snapshots, and I also downloaded the floor plan that Ask the Room created. So in all one post, you can actually see the different examples. So take us back to so I want to go download that video. Where do I find that?
Preview.
Go to preview. Now I get to click on the dots, download the teaser video.
Yep.
And also, I think this was probably worth pointing out too. If you go back up to the sandwich dots there, in the top right corner, yeah. So there's a screenshot. So if Eric wanted to take a screenshot of the dollhouse,
yep,
set the resolution.
Right. So you want to turn auto rotation off so it doesn't spin, and then pick the angle that you like.
Okay.
And then screenshot there.
Terrific. You did that way better than I, because I had trouble getting the tour to kind of fill the screen. But I thought that was a nice, snapshot too, to be able to include. And I put that in the post as well. Okay, so let's come out of that feature. And then we were still on, I think, measurements. Was there anything else under that ruler at the top? I think we covered everything.
I think we covered that. Yep.
Okay, so add object. So we covered one of those. So, okay, so tag, tell us about tag.
It's a call out of a specific feature usually. So let's say there's a piano right there, right? So I want to say piano, and I want to tell people that this does not come with the listing. I can give a different title, like I don't know what's a piano brand, but it's called Yamaha. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can put a link to the piano shopping page or some sort, or you can insert an image to when people click on it, they can see the image. Yeah.
So before you go, because we got to go slower on this, because you have some advantages. So when you call, Ask the Room says tag, Matterport calls it a matter tag.
Okay.
When you get to image, the interesting thing about image is that you can actually display an image on one of the walls, for example.
Yep. You can display this as the tag. I can display when people click on the tag, they can see the image. So let's try one. I mean, I don't know what image do I have.
Yeah, I think this is, to me, this was a really cool feature, and this is, even beyond what Matterport does, is enable you to upload an image and put it on the wall. So you might have a poster of some details about the listing that you want to include for, whatever reason. And this feature, super easy. Maybe you want to click done. We'll put that up on there.
Yeah, and you can choose different icons, right? So let's say like I want to do, let's say if I'm actually selling this, I can put this price tag, and I said done. And so there's it right here, and drag it, and again I can move forward, move back, or just sizing it. So okay, and I can just put it right here. Okay, so now when I go to preview, okay, so I'm gonna go to that panorama entrance. You can see there's a call out.
Yeah, but something's missing for me, because I've put things up on the wall with Ask the Room, and the picture just actually sits on the wall.
Oh, that's different. This is a call out, and then that is insert photo.
Okay, so
So
can
you
you show us,
call out.
maybe inserting the photo?
Yep. So let me do that. So I'm gonna delete that call out because this is actually a tool we use on our gallery.
Okay.
and delete that. So let's say I go to living room. I want to insert something on the wall. So let's pick a wall, and I think this would be nice to sit next to the painting. At object, image, and dollhouse, and there, and I can adjust it. Right, you can backward, bring up to make it bigger, right? And you can rotate if you need to. You can need to rotate it anyway. And this is, you can drag it.
Yeah, I would put the constraint of proportions on. I think that would be a good thing for most of us. Yep. So I happen to love this particular feature. I wanted to put a picture of the out of this happened to be an independent living facility, and I wanted to put a picture of the outdoor front of the building within the tour itself, and that let me do that.
Yep.
Yep.
Just rotate it. Okay.
Yep. So I think that's way cool. Then if we go back to add objects, you can do a similar thing with video. Do you happen to have a video that you could display?
Maybe. Let's see if I have anything in my. Yeah. I don't know what this is, but
Okay.
this is a video. I think this is one of the FAQ video that we were shooting. So, but yeah. It should
So
work.
I think the video is cool because again, it displays, full size, just like that photo. So Eric can actually resize that.
Yep. So I'll put it right at this wall,
Yep.
and I can resize that constraint proportion.
Thank you.
And then I think I just have to adjust it to rotate it and to make it fit this way. There we go.
Yeah, make it a little hard on yourself, but I think that's actually cool, is you can literally put a video up on the wall. I think one of the things that I did was there was a TV set in the unit, and I put the screen was blank. I put an actual video on the TV screen.
Right. So let me see if I can bring it a little bigger. I think this is the biggest ego it gets at this point. Okay. So let's see preview. Okay. So I need to move to the panorama that I set a video for. It's here.
Yeah, so now you're playing the video within the tour.
Yeah. Oh, it's our staging. It's our video of us doing our
You're
3D
teasing
staging.
that Astrum virtual staging is coming soon.
Yeah.
that'll be in our next show, actually, which is 2 weeks from today. So let's you mentioned these are live, so let's go ahead and remove those. That even just to see how you remove an asset, that's helpful too.
Yeah.
So we want to go out of the front end, go back to the Astrum desktop editor,
Yep. So we
go
want to
back
preview.
into that. Yep. Then select it. He went a little bit quick, but he's just
So
touching it, and then that brings up the menu, lets him delete it.
Yep.
And the adjust again was the size. Okay, so that's cool. So that was add object. We now know how to add a tag for text, for video. We now know how to add an image, video. I didn't understand 3D object. Take us through 3D object.
Yeah, so if you get like an OBJ file, like if you go on IKEA, and you can download some OBJ files, and like these things, you can download it, and it will be just make sure you download OBJ file. You can put it in there. Yeah. So let's see if I can actually find
Okay,
it.
so if you wanted to be able to show that this IKEA furniture will fit in this property, that this is how this starts to get mashed up. Okay, so if you could go back, maybe show us that. Were you going to take an object?
I'm downloading it right now. I don't have one. So, but so these are the type format, file type format you can use. OBJ is the most common one. And once you get an OBJ file, you can do you can upload from here, and you can see any other thing is not compatible. So you
What,
will.
do you have some, excuse me, some use cases? What's the maybe top 1, 2, or 3 reason that someone would add a 3D model to a 360 tour?
Just for staging, really just to see how it looks on in the room. But the way we do staging is actually not through inserting OBJ file. It's actually we directly edit the JPEG. And
Okay, we're going to save that for our next show, which is going to be Astroom Virtual Staging, a deep dive into that. And I believe by the time that we do that show live, you will have actually come out of Astroom Virtual Staging public beta into just public.
Yep. So let me see if I can. Yeah. Right now we are in public beta. And end of this month we'll bring it to public. But I'm happy to show a couple examples. If it's for a little teaser. Do you want to do it now, or let's do a comparison? Let's see how it looks when I insert this IKEA model that I just download. Let me see if I can find it. I saved it somewhere.
Yeah, I think you just had it. It was we were watching it download.
Yeah. So download. So let me see this one. This is OBJ. I put it on the desktop. Okay, so it's there. So let me go to my desktop. So I can find it here. All right. So I just got it. Let's see, what is it I got? I don't even know what is the thing I inserted. Okay, it's so small. It's right here. So just. Okay. This is the largest that it goes. But yeah, so you can put a bench, and of course it's not uncolored. And rotate it. But yeah, you get an idea. It doesn't look good. That's why we are doing. We want to do it for our users. So
Okay.
that is a use case. It, like I said, it doesn't look. It's blended to the home. The most OBJ file you download are just white like this. They're not colored, so they don't really look good. And to answer your question, they don't really have a use case. So this will be one of the features that we will consider deprecate, because we'll do staging like this now.
Okay, so now you're going to take us into an example.
Real staging. I don't want people to be disappointed. So
yeah. Oh, that looks familiar because I shot that space. So
yep. So we used an example in a couple of styles. We'll be offering 4 styles to begin with. Contemporary, not these ones, but these will be example. I think this Dan one was traditional, right? And this will be probably traditional. And
yeah, I think just to point out is that this happens to be an independent living facility. The average age might be 70 to 80. I wanted something that was not hip or contemporary,
right?
Just something that was a little bit maybe age appropriate.
Yep. So so the idea is that the cool thing is you can usually, when you go into Panorama, it's going to be empty and or furnished, right? Like whatever the current staging furniture set that the current owner has. But then you can see little icons here that ask you to click it to change it to whatever style you chose. We right now is a testing site, so we have style 1, 2, 3. But if you choose contemporary for one of the 4, it's going to give the style name: contemporary, classic, traditional, classic/traditional, industrial, and farmhouse. And the really amazing thing is that really got me excited is my team has figured out they can stage a home even if there's existing furniture in there without additional cost.
Yeah.
Right? So that is different from others stage 360 staging that you have seen, and they charge a cost to remove the furniture. But for us, it will be one price, and it's no matter if you have existing furnitures in there, and our stagers might actually change the color of your wall for you if they think it's appropriate.
Awesome. So what Eric was giving us just a taste, a tease of Asteroom virtual staging. We'll actually be doing an entire WGAN TV Live at 5 show. That's 2 weeks from today. And we'll do a deep dive in all things Asteroom virtual staging.
Right. So we'll come back to this. As you can see, like, this is not a great way to stage at home. So let's delete it. And if anything, we just use Asteroom.
Okay, so we go back to add object. Was there anything else in terms of adding objects there? So
Talk about tripod overlay. Yep. So that's everything.
so we've covered that. Next button over, tab over, adjust.
Yep. So straighten. So this is pretty straightforward. We all know sometimes. Oh, again, I'm giving myself some dizziness. But yeah. So we can restore and done. That's
Well, it still looks crooked to me. So tell me what you were trying to do there.
it looks straight to me. I don't know where you think is crooked.
Okay.
But if you think it's crooked, which way do you want to go? This way?
Well, I'd want to move the painting over to the vertical line, so I had something to line up with, assuming that the painting is hung correctly. So if maybe you just slide the image over, are you able to drag the image over some?
I need to do it here.
Well, I was going to go the other way, but that might work.
This way? Oh, this way? Yeah. Okay.
So straighten. Wasn't quite. You can see on the horizontal line. Yep, that's what I'm trying to straighten to.
Got it.
Assuming that the picture's straight. That's probably a first thing to be.
Not
be
straight,
with. Okay, so now when you say done, is this is setting
yeah. Yeah, it's safe.
it's setting the panorama
Yep.
for the tour itself, but not
Yep.
necessarily for the thumbnail, because we already had thumbnails, so we
Right.
might have to do the thumbnail again.
That's right. Yep. So then you
Okay.
just restore and done.
Okay.
So filter is another thing that it's just like an Instagram filter. Again, you can apply some. I don't know if as a photographer you want to do this, but
Well, if you go all the way to the right side and select pinhole as an example, while that might not be, to sell this particular property, you never know, you're doing something somewhere where you go, oh, it's Halloween. We want to take some extreme setting and do something crazy with it.
but you just know that you have the option.
Okay, so we'll just accept that most likely we probably are going to stick with the
But you can
original.
change brightness here too.
Yeah, brightness, changing the brightness is actually helpful. Probably don't want to turn it white, but just bringing it up some.
And then it has a number, percentage number, so like, do you need more? Like, this is too much, and you can try and get to like 9%, a little bit over.
Eric, excuse me, is there an apply all feature? So if I do it to one, I can do it to
I
many?
don't think so maybe it would be something nice to add, but yeah, I would assume so, but I guess it's not here.
Okay.
Do you know if it's here? No, right?
I don't think so. I think if I was adjusting one panorama, I'd probably want to apply it to all.
That's right. Yeah, this is a good feature to note.
Okay.
To note down. So lastly, this is a very popular feature. It's you shoot a tour and owner come back to say, there's a photo of myself. I don't want my photo or my family's photo or anything sensitive info. I don't want it. And what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go back? Can you come back to reshoot it? And as a photographer, you definitely don't want to drive back to listen just for this, especially it wasn't even your fault. So when Asian make the request, that kind of request, then you can just blur it out, and it's a good middle ground.
Yeah,
So
please do that. So you're changing the size of the mask that you're blocking out, but you could have picked a smaller size.
Yep. And you have to be a little patient. Oh, oops! I accidentally clicked. Go back to the last page. It was on my mouse.
So while you're getting to the right spot, I'm going to point out that, something that probably all Matterport service providers know and are probably disappointed, because unfortunately with Matterport, the blur tool blur tool in beta is actually done at the time of capture, which in my opinion makes absolutely no sense because you have zero idea of what's going to happen when it blurs. You don't know which faces, which people, what size blur is nothing. And it really, it was, I personally, I thought it was ill-conceived that you would implement blur at the point of capture when truly you want to do it in post where we are now, and you can decide, exactly how much blur. I think this picture happens to be so big that our blur is pretty big, but Eric can actually control the size of that box that he's blurring with. So he can really just fine tune it to be, if it's just there may be a document that was left out, the picture of a person.
Yep. So I'm gonna click
So
restore.
I know you're going to restore it so we don't have to see it, but I just think you kind of nailed it. You made it super simple to do a blur tool at this phase of production, which is really the exact time that you want to do this.
Right. So and the end is just hotspot, and this one's pretty straightforward. You just connecting panoramas to from panorama to panoramas. Again, we do this for you when you order a 3D dollhouse. So it's after when you use the We Get Around bundle, and all you have to do is just upload a raw panoramas to us, and we set up all these hotspots. But let's say like, oh, I actually want us to be able to go from here to a drone footage, upload it, right? And then I can insert a drone, 360 drone footage, and I can, or I insert another panorama of and I can, any panorama, I can just set the hotspot myself. So
Let's do one. I know it's a live tour. We'll remember to undo it.
I don't have a 360 photos, but
Yeah, but let's not even do the 360 because all I want to do is to say I want to go from the living room to the kitchen, and I want to add a transition.
so
And
let's say if I want to from here, I want to go to the swimming pool.
yeah, boom.
Swimming pool, right? And next, and I just set where the hotspot, where I want the arrow to be, and then this is reverse where I wanted to go back, right? Because hotspot is always a pair. So this is, I'm thinking maybe this is the living room. So next, and this is where line of sight is really important because here we don't have a line of sight, so I don't really know. Like user might be a little confused when they can't see the spot they're going into. But like this is basically the angle. Like when you click into it, what would you see? The default usually is pretty good. So let me go back to previous, and then I'll see what the default is. So next, this is the default. Okay, so this is not aligned, but usually they're pretty much aligned. So let's see, because this is not aligned because it's line of sight, but we'll try. So I click done, and I'll use the default, and I'll do preview, and I go back to the living room where I set the hotspot. Okay, not this one. In the center of living room. You can see there's one swimming pool. Let's see if how the line of sight is. Okay, so this is actually not bad. They got it right. I came out of the living room, and I went into the pool, and I see the back of the yard. So that's pretty good. Then let me see how I go back to the living room. Again, no line of sight. If we have line of sight, it should be one in front of the door, but let's just see how it is. Okay, so I come back to the living room. It's actually pretty good too. It's through the doors. I don't know if these doors, but yeah, through the doors, and I see the back of the living room, the entrance, which is what I want. So the default usually is pretty good. So all you have to do is set two panoramas that you want and to have great connections for, and then give it point it to set the arrows, and then just let the system figure out the viewing angle.
Okay, great. So can you, let's go back to the desktop editor.
Yep.
And before you delete that, how do I move that? How do I move it around?
Just drag.
Just drag it.
Yep. And then you can also, again, everything we put in here, we can bring forward, backward, make it super big.
So that's bringing it forward in the space.
Yeah, backward in the space, yes.
Forward and
Or
backward.
be smaller. Yeah.
Okay, and then I have a choice if I want to edit it.
Yep.
that's where I can come back here and decide, oh, I wanted to change,
To another place like dining room.
go someplace else.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, got it. So we'll delete that. We won't mess up your live tour. I was confused. You were talking about putting a hotspot to an aerial video. I don't understand how that would be done.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So not a video. I mean, I when by footage, I mean like an aerial view, like a 360.
Ah, okay. So would that be, could that be a panorama
It could
that's
be a
not,
panorama. Yeah.
it's not part of the
Right.
highlight reel?
On a highlight. It yeah, exactly. It's no, you have to put them into the highlight reel. Yes.
You have to put it into the
Right,
film,
yeah.
the Astroom film
Yeah.
strip.
Yes. The reason that I said that I called out specifically is because that's a common use case when people have to set a hotspot themselves because they can't take cannot take a 360 aerial view photo using their Astrum app because we don't have a usually don't have a drone.
That's
It is-
awesome. That's awesome. Because what you just said there is like amazing. It says, okay, you've used the Ask the Room app, you've created the tour, but you happen to be a drone pilot and you wanted to do a flyover and get 360 photo. You can take that photo and in the Ask the Room desktop editor, add the 360 aerial photo, then put it as part of the tour. And now you'll want to add a hotspot of
Yep.
how you get from, let's say, the pool up into the sky.
Yes.
That
right.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great feature.
And for videos, actually, I've seen some users that can that upload a 360 video as an opening, and the tour will start with that video, and eventually the pilot would take the viewer from the air to the front entrance of the door, and the tour can start there. So let me see where that function is.
So I'm confused. I can add a 360 video just like I would a 360 panorama.
I believe so. Yeah, I have seen people doing that. I believe you can insert it using one of the tour settings. Let me go back to it. But yes, I'm pretty sure that I've seen that people done that.
Okay.
So I will let you know, and you can have a separate.
Okay, cool feature. So please do send me a note, and if you don't post it, just send me a note with an example. I'll go post it to the We Get Around Network forum, wganforum.com. So I think there's still some more things to show. So I know I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but now I'm ready to share my tour. So how do I share it?
So you go back to
Okay.
right
Top
here.
left, you want to exit, right?
Right now you're in the edit mode. So everything here is editing the tour. But let's say I'm finished and I have previewed it and it looks good. And let's go back to Montesarino and go back to click that and exit to the menu, and you go to the tour Montesarino, and you go in to click the more icon. And then right now it says disable sharing is because the sharing is enabled right now. So let's say I disabled it. And then when I click again, it says enable sharing. So once I click enable sharing, I click this share icon. As you can see right now it's lit. And if I want to disable sharing is gray. And if I do enable sharing, it lights up to orange. And then when I click that, this is the setting. I can make it branded, unbranded, and I can turn on auto rotation or no, and I can do 3D to work on screen. If not, I believe it takes you to a random panel, and you can do the room label. I think this is a new feature that we added after last time chatting with Dan about how to turn the room label off. So this is related to the 15-minute challenge that Dan and I were discussing, right? How do you shoot an Astrum tour in 15 minutes for 3,000 square foot home? The fastest way to do it is to shoot panels without giving a label. So when you give it without label, we'll label it for you. and in that will save a lot of time. So
I'll take a moment. I'll talk about the WGAN and We Get Around Network $1,500 Ask the Room 15-minute
Right.
virtual tour challenge. When Eric was on a previous WGAN TV Live at 5, he said, hey, you know, when you use the Ask the Room app paired with the Ricoh Theta Z1 camera, for example, and shooting a 3,000 square foot house, you can shoot the house in 15 minutes.
Yep.
And I think I paused and I said, really? 15 minutes? And, you know, because as starting out as a Matterport service provider, you know, doing 3,000 square feet, in my mind, you know, that's probably, you know, I mean, you know, it's going to be an all over the board depending on how you shoot. So it could be an hour, it could be 3 hours. So someplace between an hour and 3 hours using Matterport to shoot a typical house with lots of furniture. And I said, wow, okay. So you could go from shooting in an hour, let's call it an hour and a half, to shooting in 15 minutes. And so I re-asked you the question, I believe. I said, you know, really? You can shoot a 3,000 square foot house in 15 minutes? And so that's what Eric has told me. So I went ahead and we've created the We Get Around Network $1,500 Ask the Room 15-minute virtual tour challenge. This is kind of a simplified way of the way it works. Is first shoot an Ask the Room tour of 3,000 square feet or more in 15 minutes or less, and narrate shooting a video at the same time. So maybe you put a GoPro camera on your chest and you're narrating what you're doing. And if you can do that tour in 15 minutes and you can narrate it nicely, I'm looking for just one. I don't have $1,500 for everybody, but I'm paying $500. We Get Around Network Forum is paying $500 for the Ask the Room tour of 3,000 square feet that was shot in 15 minutes or less, with the companion video with you narrating what you're doing, how you're doing it, in order to get done in 15 minutes. And I need both. I can't just have the video and I can't just have the tour. And, you know, you may want to enlist someone else to shoot the video. I don't mind if they're in your Ask the Room tour, you know, filming you while you're doing it, but you do have to hide from the camera. So just like you would normally shoot a house, you can't just be, you know, firing off your Ricoh Theta Z1 standing behind the camera, because you wouldn't do that for clients. I want you to go hide and not be in the tour, but I don't mind if you have another photographer who's doing video of you doing this experience. That's okay. So that's $500 for the tour, $500 for the video. And as a bonus, if you happen to also shoot a Matterport tour with a Matterport Pro 2 3D camera of the identical space, then I'll pay a bonus of $500. And then tell me how much time it took to shoot using a Matterport Pro 2 camera, whichever iPad you were using, so that we have some kind of comparison to say, hey, the same 3,000 plus square feet was shot with Ask the Room. It took 15 minutes. Shooting with Matterport, it took you an hour, it took you an hour and a half, took you 3 hours. And then we have a nice story to tell, to compare maybe Ask the Room versus Matterport. Anyway, I've done a very long post in the We Get Around Network forum. It's got detailed explanation. We're not running a contest. I am just simply curious. And this is kind of my way to crowdsource, you know, one tour, one Ask the Room tour, one video of it, and possibly maybe we'll get a Matterport tour as well. So that's the WGAN $1,500 Ask the Room 15-minute virtual tour challenge. And really, you know, to kind of put an exclamation mark in, like, wow, you can do an Ask the Room tour in 15 minutes. Okay, that's pretty cool. So anyway, I thank you for talking about that in the last show, of bringing that up about how fast, because I was a little bit in disbelief. And so I really do want to actually have a We Get Around Network forum member kind of step forward and say, yeah, I took your challenge and here's what I did. And I'm going to look for what I think is the best one. And I put some criteria in that We Get Around Network forum post. So if you want to take the challenge, read my post on this topic. You can always just go to tags in the forum and search for the tag Ask the Room. Okay, great. Where are we? So we're on this screen, Eric.
Yeah. So I mentioned room label because, like I said, like this is the key to do it fast. And when you shoot using the app to shoot a room, and it's as we have pre-populated field, you can choose one of them to be your Zoom name, which is pretty quick. But what's even faster is if you just leave it blank, and it will give some random text as a filler. And when you order a 3D dollhouse, our processing team will actually rename it for you. So, and if you don't like the naming that we gave you, you can just toggle room label off so that you don't even show the names at all.
Or earlier you showed how to change the room label. So
yeah, and it wouldn't consider in the 15 minutes, right? The 15 minutes has to be end to end, getting a tour out from the beginning. So I'm just sharing.
So that's great. You've given us a tip of how to help shoot faster so that you can minimize the time on site. Less time on site means you can shoot more jobs in the day, and B, it probably means your client's happier because your real estate agent may be babysitting you, which they probably should be doing according to their local realtor board rules. So means if you can get your real estate agent out of the listing faster, you probably have a happier client and you get more time to shoot. You went a little bit fast for me. And there's so much on this panel, which you mentioned when you got to display my profile, toggled on or toggled off. That was how to make it MLS compliant or not, or branded.
That's right.
But I'm confused. If I toggle off display my profile, what about my tripod patch? Is that still in there?
Most ML is still in there. Yeah, most MLS don't care. I don't think most MLS care about the tripod patch, but then
okay. But as a photographer, I would say, ask your real estate agent. So before you put the branding of your real estate agent in that spot, and then find out it's not MLS compliant, you got some talking to do there, because I think the local MLS would probably say no agent branding of any sort anywhere in the tour. So I think that's probably one feature, Eric, that I would challenge you all to add, is that if you're going to have a feature that says MLS compliant or branded, then literally any branding's got to be turned off.
Makes sense.
So that's what I would challenge you. So auto rotate, we understand that. Dollhouse, okay. Room labels, okay. You have, let's see, some icons for sharing. So yep. I'm presuming there I can either click to the right and copy the URL.
Yep, or that.
Okay.
Yep.
And why was a QR code being displayed? I didn't understand that.
Oh, it's pretty popular in Asia that people just scan QR code to get to the tour.
Okay. So how do I get so I can either copy the URL or I can copy the URL to be a QR code.
You can put it both, right? You can put a QR code on the flyers or listing like any physical prints.
Show me that again. All you did was click. Now, how do I save that file?
You just gotta do this yourself.
Okay. So there's there's the QR code, but now I need to go back and copy.
Yeah.
Need to copy the URL to associate with that QR code.
That's right.
Okay, cool. All right. That's way cool. Very exciting. I didn't realize, I've done 12 tours. I didn't realize that's how I could create a QR code. So that's cool. If we go back under social sharing, I see, maybe you could take us through the different social sharing options.
Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Line, WhatsApp, Pinterest. I don't have any of these accounts, so I guess I can go to my Facebook page and see what it look like. So
Great. So it automatically, as long as your social media is synced.
Yep.
Where do I do that?
I don't know. I think it's just on your computer. When you click on it, it's asking you to log into your.
It'll connect the two. Okay. Could you go back to that? Because I know you had that set to, no, if you go back to Facebook, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Facebook, and then you had the post set to share set to private, I believe, which was fine.
Yep. So.
Now I can't see where it was locked or not locked.
Let me try again. I don't know where the thumbnail is on here.
Oh, there it is in the bottom right. It says public. So I don't want to have you. Yeah, maybe if you just put it on only for a second.
Yep.
Yeah, and then maybe if you could type something. Okay, and then maybe we could post that and see what it looks like on Facebook.
Okay, I just did. Let's go to my Facebook. There. Oh, there it is.
Great. So you had set it to private, so we're just seeing that. So, okay.
Yep. And I can remember this. I can change this post to if I don't like this thumbnail, I can actually upload my teaser video that I downloaded. There. And I can include a link. I can include the link to the actual tour there.
Okay, so first that thumbnail, that was the show cover. That was
Yep.
cover image was used here. And then maybe if we go back to
the post, I see that's a much better post, and I can edit the tour link up there.
I haven't seen that before, so that's really cool. So I can actually override the thumbnail that I want.
Yep, that's right.
Is that before I post it or after I post it?
You can, well, if you grab the tour link, you don't need to use this function. If you use the syncing feature, then you just do it after. But if you just post, if you go to Facebook and you post the link, which is right here,
yeah,
and I can copy the link, and I can put a link here.
So that would be a second way to do that.
Yep. Yeah, so there. And I think I can embed this link too, so it doesn't look that long.
Yeah, I like the first way that you did it better.
So let's see, how do I do it? Edit post. I guess in this view, not anymore, but yeah.
Okay.
It would get truncated.
No, I know it's hard because Facebook keeps changing things. Even while we've been on our Zoom chat today, Zoom changed one of their features on me since last week. So anyway, I think if you could just maybe.
Hold on. Let's see if I can do it.
You're determined to do this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So while we're waiting on that,
if you could go back to Twitter, because I believe that your account is not linked on Twitter, and I really did want to see when you went to go grab a link.
Yep. Hold on. Let's see if I get this. Oh, because it wasn't not successful. Okay. Anyway,
if you could go back to
this.
Yeah, go back to sharing on that one, and then go to Twitter. I don't believe your account was linked, so I think now that's where that handshake's taking place in order to do that once, and then in the future you'll be all set. Okay, so we can close out of that, then if we go back to sharing, and then I think we had two other things. We had tour embed code. Could
Yep.
you explain the difference between cover photo on welcome screen and no cover photo, and what do I see?
I believe this. So these two are embedded links for like a single property website, and or like any other external pages where you want to render the tour natively on that page instead of showing them a link where they click to.
Yes, that I get. So it's embedded, but cover photo is that
Yeah.
where we showed that
Cover photo is just the cover photo. That's the one like this one, the one we see
the
here.
thumbnail, and
Thumbnail.
no cover photo is that going to go to the 3D dollhouse?
Directly to the tour. Yep, the 3D dollhouse. Yep.
If you, whether or not you've ordered a 3D dollhouse. So if you ordered a 3D dollhouse,
It will be in the tour. You won't need to click out. You won't need to click to open the tour. You would just take it to the tour.
okay. So fine, got that. Then I see some more things on that thumbnail for that. If we could close out of this, go back to the thumbnail. So you showed us the sandwich dots.
Yep.
No. If we go back, I can't pronounce it. Monterey Sereno.
Yep. Transfer tour. This is what I said. If you're a photographer and you can have up to 10 or 25 different accounts, and they don't need to be the real email address of yours. You can just, if Dan Smirgraw is my client, I can type Dan Smirgraw at ericsizeClient.com, and I can just log in using that email, and I can transfer a tour to anyone, including anyone that's an Astron user, including yourself, to a client's account. So now if when I put in Dan Smirgraw's real email here, this tour is going to leave my account and go to Dan Smirgraw.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so easy enough to say I've created it, and
Yep.
now I'm gonna.
Yep, but this is a good way to do the project manage, because the way we want to do it like this is because we imagine the photographer would have like 20, 30 as a clients, and everybody's tour would just get pretty cluttered in here. It's hard for you to manage each project for your individual agent. So that's why we like that you just have a sub account and transfer the account to that sub agent. So you can always have the person's profile or the tour you're shopping in.
So I see the house. The house indicates that there's a 3D tour that's been created, but I don't see a floor plan example. Do you have one that has a floor plan on it?
It's supposed to. I'm not sure why in this view it doesn't. But it's supposed to. So
okay. So we'll go. Yeah. So if there was a floor plan that has been created for Monterey Sereno, California, then we would see an icon right below the house to indicate that. So that's a really quick way to know in the status of your tour of whether you've created the 3D dollhouse, which is done by us.
This probably is a bug, because that's what you would see on your Astron app. And for some reason that the website, the web editor is not showing. So it's more
It shows it on mine. I see the floor plans.
Oh, okay. Then I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I know why. Because these tours floor plan were uploaded, that they were not created by us.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
And so they didn't do floor plans. Highly recommend doing floor plans. Yeah. Okay. And then I see an elevator. I see some views. I see the number 41.
So here, let me explain a little more. Why the icon was not showing is because I can still upload a floor plan here. So this floor plan was not created by Astron. This floor plan is we created it and we uploaded it ourselves. That makes sense. So
yes.
when you order a floor plan service, then it's going to show you the icon that floor plan is ready, and it's indicating that we created a floor plan for you, but not when you upload it yourself.
Okay. So if we go back to the same tour we've been working with.
Yep.
And so, okay, all that's self-explanatory. That's great.
Yep.
Yep. Let's not do that. Okay. Then I see 20, let's see, I see 41 in the left corner.
Yep. So what is this?
41 is the number of 360s, so that's
Oh,
good.
we're on number 360. Yep.
Yep, I find that helpful. Then I see a number 28,276.
There's just views, and you can click on the analytics to see where they come from.
Analytics. I thought that was an escalator for some reason.
Yeah. So this is just
Analytics.
for traffic. You can see, whoa, we got thousands of views for this tour every day. So and this is, you can get this to your realtor actually. Sure, to your, this is the link. You can give it to them, and then they can click on this, and then they will lend the realtor, which is, whoa, this is the
Okay, again, you went, I'm sorry, but you went a little fast for me. Let's stay at the top. Let's go back to that statistic
so,
page. Okay,
so,
stay there.
okay. So
Don't go anywhere. No, 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 no. Back to the top, please. Thank you. Up, higher, 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 higher. Yep. Higher. Yep. Okay, good. So if you can read across for us.
yep, number of visits, unique visitors, time on page, and number of rooms engaged. What's interesting is a lot of visitors are repeating visitors for whatever good reasons. And these are the popular panoramas.
Okay,
And
that's the actual 360s within the tour. So you could see, oh, people are spending the most time at the entrance and the dining room and then the kitchen.
Yep.
Okay.
and then you can go down. This is by day, the visit by day. And then referrals. So apparently a ton of people are coming in from UK. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a lot of people are checking this tour out from UK from this scripttv.co.uk.
Okay.
Yep, someone is sharing this. I'm curious to see what is this. But I'll check it out later. But yeah, so We Get Around has 240. Yeah, so that's
I don't
great.
even remember embedding that tour in the forum.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Cool. So,
Yep.
and then I noticed when you moused over the bars were they interactive? Can you click on, or is that just the,
it's just the bar. Yeah,
okay. But that you can share this page with your client
you can share this page. That's what we're trying to do.
by copying the URL.
Copy the URL. Yep.
Okay.
And back to that page. So we click analytics, and this guy.
Now I see another button there called leads.
Yeah. So when this is probably gonna get deprecated when you have your branding, and if someone that sending a data click contact you and leave you in data or leave you messages, this is where it's gonna pop out. But most MLS don't like this, so this is not really being used unless you put it on Facebook and people wanted to contact you.
Okay, so so this might be deprecated. I would just, suggest to the community, there are so many WGAN third-party service providers that do single property websites, they all have lead generation. And you can simply take the iframe code from Ask the Room from that page Eric was showing us earlier and
Yep.
use that to, whether you're using RELA or WP3D models, WordPress plugin, or Show and Tour. These are all single property websites that have a lead generation form, and so that may be a way to mash up Ask the Room with another platform. And if you're trying to find those things that I just talked about, if you go to the We Get Around Network forum, WGANforum.com, in the top, you'll see a bar that says Marketplace, and that'll take you to all kinds of third-party services, and just look for single property websites and click on that, and it'll bring up a number of service providers. Eric, if you could close out this page and then go back up to you had all the thumbnails on here, and then in the top right, I think we can finish up with all these menu items that you have there.
Yep. So this is language. My engineers are in Taiwan, so there is simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese. that is part of the Taiwanese and Chinese market are part of our market as well.
Shay
Yeah.
Shay.
US one, yep. Say
Shay.
And notifications. This is the way we communicate with you. Hey, like your order of image enhancement has been done. In addition to this, we also send you push notifications on mobile.
So pause there, if you will, because I find this super helpful. So when I upload a tour, I get an email notification. When I've ordered a 3D dollhouse, I get a notification. Or when the 3D dollhouse notification is in the Ask Room pipeline and they're doing something, I get a notification. When the 3D dollhouse is ready, I get a notification. And I get those notifications in two places. I get them in my regular email. I love that. But then when I go to the Ask Room desktop editor, I also can see which messages that I have not clicked on as read. So I could say mark all is button that says mark all as read. But this way, if I got a lot of stuff going on, I can quickly see, what's the status. And so I think Ask Room's doing a great job managing expectations about what's happening when. So there's kind of like no mystery. You ordered something, you kind of want to know, well, it's being worked on. And then again, when you look at the thumbnail, like for Monte Sereno, California, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that you see the little dollhouse view. And if there was a floor plan that was ordered through Ask Room, you'd see a little icon. So the dollhouse view is ready, the floor plan view is ready. Okay, great. So that's notifications. I find that super helpful.
Yep. And the lastly, just setting, it tells you what plan you're on. Again, I'm on the active tour count. So this is not really relevant, but this is basically
you're the Uber user, you're the super user, so your account set up a little bit differently than what my account would show.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about my account.
Okay.
But yeah, manage users. So this is where I can add users. Then like I said, like I want to add email, then add Eric's client.com, right? Display name Dennis McGraw, right? So default password *00. So I can transfer this. I can log in as Dan at Eric's client, and I transfer tour to Dennis McGraw, and I keep the profile of Dennis McGraw. Yep. And upload Dennis McGraw's photos, everything about Dennis McGraw and his tour that I did for him. So whenever he asks something, say, hey, remember that tour you did for me? I can quickly log in there and send whatever he needs.
Okay, cool. Change
This
password, probably obvious there.
This is our Ask Room CRM, photography CRM. Delete this.
Okay.
Yeah. Change password, obvious. Billing, obvious. Web editor, just take it back here.
Okay.
So that's everything. Help center.
There was a little person there. I missed the person.
Oh, this is my profile.
Okay.
So
Got it.
I don't know why it's called Stephen Lee, but this is support, sales support at AskRoom.com, and yeah, and the rest is the same.
And then there were two other icons. There was a search icon and there's a globe icon.
The globe icon is a language.
Okay, got it. And then search.
When you have a lot of tour.
Got it. And you went to support. How did you get to support? Was there a button there and I missed it?
Yep. So I believe it was this one, resource and help center.
Help center. So just personally, Eric, I would suggest support is so helpful. I would put a little icon there or button so that it actually stands out on its own, because you do have a lot of support materials that I think are tremendously helpful.
We have a great, very slick support system. We have this bot. You can talk to this bot. Oh, billing, I want to cancel my account.
No, let's not say that.
Well, let's see what he says. This is something that people always want to know, right? They always want to say, like, so It just have 3 articles that you can read, and or you say you want to get in touch, and you can leave a message, and we'll contact you.
Okay, cool. Can we ask for world peace? See what happens?
It's not
Yeah,
gonna.
so it's okay. We'll do that another day. So if you could take us off screen share, return me back to host status, that would be great.
Well, so you couldn't answer my question. Yep. So, yep, go back to, yep, here. That's
Okay.
it.
And then if you could take us off screen share and then return me back to the host status, that would be great because I'm missing some of my buttons that I
Yep.
need. That's cool. Yep, got that. So Eric, thank you so much for being on the show today and taking us for, a deep dive into Ask the Room desktop editor.
You're welcome, Dan. It's a pleasure.
I know we've been on the call for a little bit more than an hour and a half. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll add floor plans to the next show, 2D floor plan.
Yeah, I think we can talk about it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Now, with a $60 pay-per-tour package, now includes 2D floor plan as well. So I think this package is as valuable as it ever will be. So this will be valid. This offer we're hoping this to be permanent, but it will at least be valid for a year on We Get Around Network. And so for $60 with 15 minutes of your time, you can get a 3D dollhouse. You can get 2D floor plan. You can get your panels retouched. 180 days of hosting. So basically everything you need in the $60 plan.
That's awesome. So that's the Ask the Room pay per tour bundle, and that's available exclusively to We Get Around Network forum members. And if you'd like the code for that, I guess look for a post. You can either private message me in the forum, and there are a couple other ways. But for We Get Around Network forum members, it'll be relatively obvious. If you're watching us someplace else on YouTube, whatever, come join us, WGANforum.com. Totally free to join the forum. There's about 50 plus membership benefits. One of them is you can get the Ask the Room pay per tour bundle for $60. And then to just reiterate what Eric said, it includes, use the free app from Ask the Room, shoot the tour, or upload your panos via the desktop editor. Ask the Room will assemble the tour. This is really important. I think at last count, there's about 161 platforms for 3D 360 virtual tour hosting or software. Ask the Room is among a handful of platforms that will actually assemble the walk around experience for you. That's a really big deal. You can change the walk around experience, so you have control over it. But I'll tell you, when you really want to get into production of shooting a lot of homes, you want someone else to assemble the tour for you. So Ask the Room assembles the tour. They create the 3D dollhouse for you. They create the 2D schematic floor plans. You can get the floor plans at your option with measurements or without measurements. If you want measurements, you can have it in US Imperial, feet in inches, or you can have it in metric. And it includes 6 months of hosting. So you don't need to have a subscription. You just simply, pay as you go for the properties that you're doing, and it also includes the retouching of the images. So there's a lot in the bundle. Anything else on floor plans, Eric?
Nope. It'd be great if you can announce it to the forum as a post as well.
Okay, great. And is there anything that you wanted to cover that we didn't discuss today?
Oh, the $60 pay per tour bundle will also give you discount to Ask the Room 3D staging. I don't have the exact price finalized yet, but it will be affordable, and as We Get Around pay per tour bundle user, you get somewhere between 15 to 20% off.
Cool. So that kind of just segues into a show that we're going to do, WGAN TV Live at 5, again with Eric in about 2 weeks. And the focus of that show is going to be Ask the Room virtual staging. And it's presently available in public beta. So if you can't wait 2 weeks, just send an email to support@asktheroom.com. But in the meantime, it'll be available publicly. Presumably, it'll be somewhat automated. We'll learn more about what styles are available, how to order it, how much it costs. That's next 2 weeks from today, WGANT Live at 5. Eric, anything else that I didn't ask you that we should cover for today?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for hosting.
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
You've been watching WGAN TV Live at 5, and our guest today has been Ask the Room co-founder and CEO Eric See. Thanks for tuning in, and please do join us in the We Get Around Network forum. Eric, I love your background. I wish the air quality in San Francisco matches that. I know there's some challenges with fires, and we just wish that everybody is safe and the air quality improves. So we're feeling it for all those in California and the West Coast that are. Anyway, your background kind of reminds me of that. So anyway, for Eric in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching